just gave me some really interesting information while we were not recording.
Mhm.
Do you want to tell them or do you want me to tell them?
Is this the one that some of my gay male friends are coming from New York for a birthday weekend rave, and when you asked, can I come, I said no?
No, but we can talk about that. I already knew the answer to that question because though I am an ally,
Yeah.
a true ally, and often welcome in homosexual spaces,
Yes.
I know when I'm not wanted.
Okay, well, what was the other thing?
That you wanted to be bisexual.
Well, I wish I were bisexual because I'm sure that it would be, listen, why not cast that net wide? There's just not a bisexual bone in my body. I think women are amazing and beautiful. Not me, not you, but the rest of them.
Real quickly, do the demonstration that you just did of how you would take care of a lady part.
Yeah.
Now, you're going to have to go to YouTube for this visual,
Mhm.
but I'll explain it.
What I would do is channel Bette Midler in Big Business when she's milking the cow and she's like, well, hello, Jupiter Hollow. I know you're doing fine. Like, I feel like that's what you do.
And you wish you were bisexual.
I think I'm doing this right.
No woman in this moment or any moment wishes you were bisexual.
Honestly, the longest cold open ever. Henry, play the music.
Hello, down bitches! Welcome to I Think Not, the podcast where we know our lanes and we stay in them.
Okay, listen. I will not be defined by one act of playing with a ding-a-ling. Okay? I will not.
My name is Ellen Marsh, and across from me is my best friend and life partner at this point, Joey Taranto. And you have tuned into I Think Not, the podcast where we recap your favorite true crime TV shows episode by episode. Every month we bring you a new show. And we got a new show for you, everyone. Joey,
Sorry.
focus.
Okay.
If you want to catch us on YouTube, this is a plug for the YouTube, but you're going to want to see what we do all the time. I promise you. It's pretty fun. Those drop on Fridays. But say hi, Joseph.
Hello.
And that's all I let him say. We're here covering a new episode of a brilliant new show by a fellow podcaster who has made it big, and their podcast has been made into a TV show. Lacey Mosley, her podcast, Scam Goddess, has been made into a TV show on Hulu. Round of applause for Lacey. And of course, if it involves a scam, we'd love it. So we're covering 4 episodes here, and then we'll throw the other 2 over on the Patreon. Speaking of the Patreon,
Yeah, if you're a sadistic human being and you're like, I want more of this, go over to patreon.com/IThinkNot for as little as $5 a month. You can get 4 bonus episodes, 3 true crime, 1 true crime adjacent, which is The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. And let me tell you, they've got secrets and they're all in their hair.
we have all kinds of stuff, including watch parties. And we just decided the other day, me and Discord Daddy Josh, that we're going to watch Traitors on Thursday night because now I'm doing this thing called downtime, and my downtime is watching Traitors.
God damn it, the bitch played me.
So for our Hallelujah What's It To You tier, you can get a movie night and swamp talk and get on our Discord and our close friends circle where every night I take an edible and I show you the funny videos I'm watching on Instagram. It's a blast.
I'm so proud of her.
And you know what she never does? Wipes her camera. Is she filming this from heaven? Is she filming this from a fog machine? We will never know. Anyway,
If you are looking for that bonus content, head over to patreon.com/IThinkNot. We got all sorts of goodies and tiers for you, but you know, we're always going to be in your ears here on the main feed for free every Wednesday.
even if you're like, you know what, Patreon's not for me, that's okay. We're just glad you're here and we love you.
We sure are.
Shall we get to the episode? Sorry, go
I was
ahead,
just-
Ellen. Go ahead.
It's okay.
Should we? Go ahead.
Should we get to the episode?
Let's get to the episode.
Season 1, Episode 1 of Scam Goddess, The Horseplay Heist.
They call me Scam Goddess. Welcome to my world.
Well, we are in Dixon, Illinois, population 15,000 as of 2023. They said on the episode that it was 16,000. It's 15.
Who loves a Google? Look at you. Look at you. I have taught you so much.
And you know how you spell Google?
How?
Google. Anyway, and a female resident of this town wants to get something off her chest.
We love Dix.
Joey.
What?
That's not what she said. We're in Dixon, Illinois. Play what she said.
We love Dixon.
Yeah, sorry. I heard Dix and I stopped there. Anyway, we are told that Dixon is your typical all-American Midwestern city. Someone said, I had high school teachers that my parents had.
Wait, but my town is like that. You know, I just moved to my town a couple years ago, but people in my town love being like generations deep. I was like, is that a flex that you grew up here, you decide, which is fine. It's lovely. I live in a lovely town. But people who do that, they love that. They love that part of the story.
Well, I was just like, God damn, how old are some of these teachers? It's like, welcome to English 101. The 101 stands for the 101 years I've worked here. Like, what the fuck?
It's just like George Burns in every classroom. Well, you know, Dixon, they are famous for their Petunia Festival. And you know what the Petunia Festival is, right, babe?
Yeah, it's the Festival of Petunias.
No, it's gay pride. That's code for gay pride. That's what they call their gay pride. Well, go down to and like the four gay guys walk into the town square and they sing YMCA, but the one guy always messes up the A and he tries to be the Y. It's a thing. They are also the catfish capital of the world. We're not talking about the fish. They all just like showing up places and pretending to be other people. It's a weird town.
Could you imagine? It's like, sorry, wrong catfish.
Yeah.
Also, you're going to hear this a lot on this episode. This is actually Ronald Reagan's hometown. You can visit Reagan's home. You can visit Reagan's trail.
In the museum, you know, they have a plate of pancakes that he was at the local Waffle House and he didn't finish it. And it's actually kept in a box. Those were the pancakes that he didn't finish.
Wow. Well,
it's
you
in
know
the
what?
Museum.
Let me tell you something. If all of that is interesting to you, like Reagan's home, you know, Reagan's trail, Reagan's pancakes, you should look at the AIDS quilt sometime and see all the gay men that Ronald Reagan murdered because he wouldn't acknowledge AIDS. And that might change your mind, wouldn't it? Who knows? But enough about that dick licker. Our subject today is Rita Crundwell. Ronald Reagan can choke. I hate that man. Yeah. His best friend died of AIDS and he ignored it.
Okay. Were you like planning on talking about the AIDS crisis on our comedy podcast today?
If you can talk about Nazis, I can talk about the AIDS crisis, okay?
You will learn.
Not that the two should be conflated. I'm just saying, Ronald Reagan was a terrible person.
Okay. Yeah. Well, the people of Dixon were victims of a massive scandal, and we don't mean the 80s. We sit down here with Jim Dixon, and he is really proud of his ancestors that were the first prominent settlers of this town. It's just classic Midwest America. And there are two ladies here who are going to give their opinion of Dixon.
We love Dixon. So classy. It's classy.
Well, there you go. The only problem is we all know what Countess Luann says.
Money can't buy your class. Money can't buy your class.
Yeah, that's what she said. And so, like we said, it's one of those places where people are raised and then they stay there and they raise their family. And then someone else says,
it's a vibe. It's a Dixon vibe.
More about that, more about Ronald Reagan. But we are not here to talk about the controversial 40th president. Oh, no. We are here to talk about a dick stick by the name of Rita Crundwell.
Rita Crundwell was accomplished. She was successful. She was an equestrian. She was also a cunt. And she didn't just scam 2 people, 3 people. She scammed the whole fucking town in the amount of, we'll talk about that later. And also, she did this for 20 years.
Yeah, it's called The Long Game. Now, what's interesting about this show is Lacey Mosley is sort of boots to the ground. She's here, she's getting in, she's talking to people, which I think is really cool. So this is definitely a different kind of true crime show than a bunch of talking heads. There are talking heads, but she is there. If I were to do a true crime show, I would want to do it like this. I would want to get in and talk to all these people. Get it, girl. Way to turn your podcast into a TV show. We need to get Lacey Mosley and learn her ways. I would love to do this. She's like, let's go talk to the town hall guy. And
I don't know if you want me to do this because I couldn't fix my face. If I had like a bad guy in front of me, I would be like this the whole time.
Yeah, that is true.
It wouldn't be great for them. So Lacey, our host, goes to the local watering hole to get the real tea from the locals on Rita Crundwell. And I just know they're about to read this woman for filth. And then we see a pride sign on the wall of this bar. And I was like, okay, Dixon, maybe that woman meant it when what she said about the folks of Dixon.
We love Dixon.
Joey.
That is the quote, and that's my story. I'm sticking to it, okay?
Well, she goes to a place called Val's Place, and it is her place. and she's there.
Val's place.
Oh, Val's there. She's like, what's happening? This is my place. I'm Val. And a guy named Norm walks in, and that's literally his name.
Yep.
And he walks in, and everyone yells, Norm! And then in my notes, I wrote, it's like Cheers. And then Lacey goes,
Oh my, this is Cheers. Okay.
I was like, girl, why didn't you call me to co-host this with you?
Well, Lacey goes around the bar chit-chatting, but then she mentions Rita's name, and it's all...
Not personal.
It's a very sensitive subject. Now, Jim Dixon, whose lower third says that he is the great-great-great-great-grandson of the Dixon founders, pops in to say that Rita didn't look like a criminal. She was very pretty, which made it very easy for her to steal. I was like... Is that a thing that they say about criminals? Watch out for the pretty ones they steal.
But we're going to learn that she got away with a lot because of her charm. Now, Lacey is really absorbing this neighborhood feel.
Yeah.
And everyone kind of has the same thing to say about Rita. She was really famous for her horses. We're going to learn all about these horses. She was in the newspaper. She was in equestrian magazines. She did all of these things with horses. And of course, everyone loves to talk about Ronald Reagan, and the catfish are huge. If you get it, you get it. It's a really nice neighborhood. Get it? Neighborhood. Because the horses. It's because you'd say neighborhood, but also neighborhood.
Sometimes I really hate you.
Okay.
Well, Rita grew up in Dixon. She came from a family of farmers, and so she grew up in the rural side of Dixon. Say rural.
Thank you for not making me
Say
say
it.
it. No, I don't want to do it.
Say it.
Dixon.
Two can play at that game. There's a lot of exposition as to the history of Rita. Tom Wadsworth is here, her old classmate, and he's pulling out his yearbook. I was like, you are so sweet to think we care about your old... I don't even care about my old yearbooks, and we're looking through these yearbooks. Just the history that she had been there for so long, and then this woman, Kathy, is here. I don't know why she is here other than to read Rita for filth, because this is what she says.
Rita never looked really glamorous to me.
Kathy! Drag her! Kathy's like, listen, I'm going to keep it real. She was a farm girl. She was a cowgirl. Whatever. They are going to drag Rita, and I am here for it.
And so a local at the bar says Rita started laying the foundation for this scam in high school. She was part of a club in high school that allowed her to work as an intern for City Hall. She worked with the city's finance department, right? They had her running errands, but she was also learning how to run the books, and they would let this 16-year-old girl help them with the books.
Listen, who hires a teenager to do anything that isn't disgusting? Name that movie.
Who hires a teenager?
In 3?
No,
two.
wait, hold on.
You know it.
Who hires a teenager to do anything that isn't disgusting?
It's actually nobody hires teenagers to do anything that's not disgusting.
I don't know.
Don't tell mom the babysitter's dead.
What?
You are a disappointment to every gay man in America. But it's true. I worked for my high school cafeteria. Granted, I got paid in bagels, but you're working for the city. Now, we don't victim blame on this podcast, but Dixon, why are you letting a stupid teenager work in the finance department of your town. I worked at the Gap and I didn't get a key to the register for like 2 years. You can't trust a teenager to make accurate change. They're basically just tall toddlers with a bad attitude.
Honey, when I was in high school, I was perfecting the art of masturbating without anyone hearing me. I could not run no books. I could barely masturbate quietly.
And she basically has a key to the city vault. So, Dixon, you gotta take some responsibility here.
And now that I've said that out loud, I feel like I've overshared. Anyway, but forget that I said that. Strike that from the record, Your Honor.
Leave it for the record, Henry. Thank you.
So once she graduated high school, Rita went full-time in the City Hall Finance Department. Now, Rita loved horses. She showed horses in high school. She was very well respected in the world of horses. I don't know. Whatever the fuck. She owned 400 of them. Who needs 400 horses? That's insane.
Do you know what a group of horses is called?
No.
Well, it's commonly called a herd, but it's also known as a mob. And then when I thought about it, I thought that horses are a little mafia-like. You know, they're like, hey.
Is that
Get
it?
it? Hey.
That's the whole...
Yeah, that was it.
I'm really, I don't know what's going on today. I'm not getting any of your jokes. My mind is rejecting them. I'm sorry.
I can see that. No, but it's like, hey.
Uh-huh. I got it the first time.
But like, imagine me as like Al Pacino with a horse face and a horse head. Wasn't that in The Godfather? Okay, sorry. Wasn't there a horse head?
Yeah, go to the mattresses.
What is it?
I don't know. They put a horse head in the mattress. Listen, I don't care. Look, can I just tell you this? Have you ever ridden a horse before?
Yes, it's scary.
I did it once. Horses are beautiful. They're majestic. They're stunning. I am terrified of them.
Yeah.
I
So was Charlotte York.
No. Can't. No, I can't. Let's go. You just paid. I said I can't.
Hey, he's all saddled up.
And then she had to conquer her fear in
And
Central
she did.
Park.
And she did. Not before Carrie almost lit the barn on fire by smoking. Who would smoke where there's hay everywhere? But anyway, horses really scare me, but they did not scare Rita. She loves it. She was in horse shows. She showed horses. She did well. The horses.
So a full-time Dixon employee making $80,000 a year had a seriously spendy side hustle in the horse world? How does that even add up?
They're going to break this down a little bit more. An average horse costs about $15,000.
Okay.
They can go all the way up to $1 million. But it's not even the buying of the horses that you have to consider. You have to board it, feed it, groom it, give it veterinary care. They also have a very elaborate shoe collection. Horses are basically the Carrie Bradshaw of the animal kingdom.
Wait! I lost my shoe!
I digress. That's 2 Sex and the City references. But the whole world of horses is very rich. I only had one girl growing up that rode horses, and she was very rich. You got to have some generational wealth to get into the horse world. The outfits alone are so expensive, like equestrian pants.
Yeah, a lot of it is expensive. But, you know, Rita's specialized in quarter horses.
Which we haven't. That is what she cut horses up into
Quarters. She quartered them. Yeah.
That is so. I hope at the end of this episode she is charged with animal cruelty.
My love, that's not what it means. It means that they can run a quarter of a mile faster than your regular horse. They're not quartering them and bringing them to the sausage factory.
Oh, I need to change my notes. Okay.
But here's the thing. Even if she was selling a few horses a year at like $100K, you're talking about 400 horses, feeding them, boarding them, all of that. Her $80,000 a year salary at the city council, there's no way she was covering all of that with that salary. So what we need to understand is the why, like why she would do this. And Lacey decides to speak with Shayna Rigsby, who is a certified horse whisperer. Can you help? What does a horse whisperer do?
Talks to horses, Joey. What do you
But
think?
like psychically? They're psychics.
I think she just works well with horses and knows a lot about horses.
Like they're not psychically connected, because I'm actually a cat whisperer. I don't know if you know this, but I was on the phone with your cat, Boyante, the other day. And,
what did he say?
He never liked you.
Boyance and not Sia? Because Sia's a cunt.
No, Boyante had many things to say.
What did he say?
He said you should probably change your sheet soon because he's had some problems in there.
Also, it must be said, we see a lot of Rita at said horse shows, winning horse shows, riding, talk. We see a lot of B-roll of her, and this woman's outfits are unacceptable.
Yeah.
We covered the Mean Girl Murders episode where we had all those rodeo queen outfits, and yes, they were over the top. But Rita has some next level ugly clothes. I have seen salads that dress better than fucking Rita. Come on.
No, it looks like Rita was sponsored by Chico's. You know what I mean? Like the Chico's outlet.
Absolutely. That is such a good call. So she's still working for the city, making her sweet $80K a year, which is a great salary to live like a normal person. But she's also, horsing around with the horses.
So Shayna the horse whisperer is like,
she did not like to have another horse beat her. She would purchase the horse that beat her if she lost in a class.
That is so savage. Like, congratulations. How much for the horse?
I mean, literally, like, I will buy and sell you.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's funny because I didn't exactly understand what a horse show was, but when they said it's like a beauty pageant for horses, I'm like, yes, okay.
There's equestrian horses, horses that do all the jumping and stuff, which
Right.
I love to watch on the Olympics. And then, they're judging them on, their muscles and their form. It's kind of like the
Their dicks.
Westminster Dog Show.
Their dicks. That horse got a big dick. Give it a blue ribbon. Is that how it works?
That's exactly.
So basically, the prettier the horse, the better it does, and the more it's worth.
Now, remember, Rita had over 400 horses, and Shayna says an average show horse costs about $100,000. Of course, the fancier they are, and it's all about the breeding. If they come from a good lineage, the more expensive that they get. So Rita had over 400 horses, and Lacey breaks it down for us. For example, in 2009, she bought a horse for $225,000. So you multiply that by 400, and it equals, I don't know, $1 billion. A lot of money.
It's $90 million.
But then you think, okay, well, she's competing in these competitions, so surely she must be getting prize money. The prize money is like $20,000, which is a lot of money. But not when you buy a horse for $225,000.
Yeah, so the town of Dixon was like, I guess she's selling horses or investing. It's not like somebody was going to approach her and be like, hey, bitch, so how much money you make? And where does it come from?
Yeah. We know people like that from Broadway, though. We would have friends that wouldn't work for a year or two, and they were wearing designer clothes and eating at fancy restaurants, and I would be like, I'm over there working at the Chiquita Banana double shifts every fucking day. How are you living so large with no salary? And they usually came from
Trust fund.
trust fund. Yeah. You don't know. You don't know where people come from. You don't ask questions. You don't say hey, I know you're not working right now. How are you living?
Right.
People just were like, maybe she made some good investments or something. You just don't talk about money. It's just not what you do.
Of course not. There's no appropriate way to ask someone that.
She had a nice home. She had a huge farm.
In 2009, she splurged on a motorhome worth a whopping $2.1 million.
I have never heard of a $2 million motorhome.
What's in the motorhome? Like a Maserati?
I have no idea.
Welcome to my motorhome, and inside my motorhome is a very expensive car. You skipped over this woman's custom furnishing because Countess de Lesseps said,
money can't buy your class.
It can't buy you taste either. This woman had a chandelier made out of vintage revolvers and these really ornate wood pieces and tiles with her name, the tiles spelled out her initials and stuff. That house isn't going to resell with that bullshit. It's like she went to the ugly store and bought everything they had.
Yep.
That was the ugliest house I have ever seen.
Yeah, it was not cute. I mean, the outside was pretty, really beautiful.
Okay. And then the inside, she had like deer head like coasters where you just the hooves were there and you like put the cup and no, it was tacky.
How did she rip this town off for so long and no one noticed? Meet Danny Langloss, who is the Dixon city manager and worked with Rita in her final years at City Hall. And let me tell y'all something. Danny got nothing nice to say about Rita.
Whoa. Can I ask a question?
Yes.
What's a city manager?
They manage the city.
City looks good.
You know, I have this in there somewhere. Like, I can't remember.
City looks good. Like, what do you do? Like, you just, like, you manage the city? Like, whenever the city needs a break?
Yeah.
You go and get it a cup of coffee?
Hey, city, it's time for your break. Go on break, all right? You got 20 minutes. I don't know.
I have never heard of is anybody a city manager out there? I would just like to know what he does.
I don't know what that means, but Danny's like, look, let me tell you. Rita was a master manipulator. She knew how to make anyone feel like the most important person in the room. Now, listen, I'm going to say this, okay? Rita could never have gotten away with this. Mm-hmm. If people were paying closer attention. And so I have a feeling that people like Danny, he's really going to be like, she was a master manipulator, she was a sociopath, all these things, because he wants to take some of the pressure off of the city of Dixon. You know, I think he's just trying to pass the buck a little bit. You know what I mean?
I agree. I totally agree. But there is that characteristic. That is how scammers and manipulators get their way. You know, when we did Pink Collar Crimes, we had Providence Hogan, that woman who worked for the PTA. No one looked at her twice. Jackpot Jackie. They're really friendly people. Like, oh, I'll take you out. They're charming. They're lighting up every room they walk into. It just draws your attention away from the bad things that they're doing. But I do understand that the shortcoming is being like, oh, Rita's fine. We're going to learn no one was really paying attention to anything that Rita did. And she did charm the pants off of everyone.
Yeah. Well, with that said, Danny is like,
so many of these people work with her since she was 16 or 17.
Rita handled almost everything here. So if you were a city employee, you dealt with Rita.
She knew how to make people feel special, feel important.
When confronted with information that is in direct opposition to the person that you know, it's very hard to receive that.
Yeah.
We've been there.
Absolutely. People are bamboozled. It's like you know, you have all this charm, so much talent, and you're so good looking, and people love you, and nobody knows that you are a wildebeest in tank tops.
I think they know. I think they know. They like, look at this old moose. You ain't fooling nobody. Never liked you. Hate your curls, hate your eyes, big old nose, big old mouth. I don't like them. Sorry, that's me looking in the mirror. And so
charm goes a long way, but also she was a hard worker. I mean, she worked hard on this scam. So she was the city clerk, right? And she'd been in that job since she was like 16 years old because apparently Dixon doesn't know that teenagers are stupid. Then she became the treasurer of the city of Dixon. Incidentally, I was the treasurer of the Musical Theater Society at Emerson College my sophomore year. To this day, I don't know what I did. I swear to God. It was only by name. Like, I would just, like, people would just hand me things, and I was a sophomore. Why was I?
It's too much responsibility for anyone. But the thing is basically, if you worked for the city, you knew Rita. She dealt with everything pertaining to the city.
Yeah, it looks good. City looks good. Yep. I work here in the city. Thank you.
She knew the ins and outs of Dixon dangerously well. And then she became the comptroller while being the treasurer. So I looked this up just so we could all be on the same page. A comptroller is a senior executive who manages accounting and financial reporting for an organization. A treasurer monitors revenue streams, taxes, fees, and funds for city departments and initiatives. There is no ethical reason why someone should be both comptroller and treasurer because there's no checks and balances.
Mm-hmm. Nobody holding anyone accountable. Also, remember that episode of Smug Shots where I thought that they were saying controller wrong the whole time? I don't think it's a comptroller.
A comptroller is a
I don't think that's right.
Comptroller. It's C-O-M-P-T-R-O-L-L-E-R. Motherfucker, I've got it on Google. Listen, we're all learning together. But I mean, basically what this means is that Rita could steal money and cover it up because there was no one to hold her accountable. She wrote the checks. She paid the bills. She was the only person keeping the city's records, and she did that for years.
Yeah, she was holding all the purse strings. She was in charge of all the revenue coming in, right? Whatever stream of revenue that is, whether that be taxes or whatnot. And she was responsible for the output of money, paying bills. And so with both positions under her belt, she was basically like a little financial Napoleon in this town. She was like a financial dictator.
Rita was allowed to open a bank account with one signature. She would create fictitious invoices, large sums of money for these projects that we had no responsibility for. She wrote it to treasurer, and she was the treasurer.
That way she could deposit it into this fake treasurer account that no one knew existed. And then she would take that money from the account and put it into her own. She's a mad genius.
It's kind of not even a mad
It's
genius,
simple.
though, if you think about it. Like, it's so simple. It really reminds me of Jackpot Jackie.
Yeah.
Where she was, like, quite literally cut, copy, and pasting things. Or in our live show, the accountant that was, like, writing it out to taxes.
Yeah.
So it's not really genius. It's the genius kind of is in its simplicity.
That's what I mean.
Opening another account. But listen, it worked because she started doing this in 1990. She opened this secret bank account. She didn't transfer anything until 1991, and then she made her first big transfer, and that allowed her to steal $181,000. Fast forward to September 2009, and she was moving $100,000 here, $350,000 there. So within 20 years, this bitch made 169 transfers and stretched out. That equaled about $2.5 million a year. That's bananas.
That means that at this point, in 20 years, it's over $50 million. Over $50 million. The city of Dixon has 15,000 people in it.
Let's be specific. It was $54.7 million, and that would have equaled 28% of Dixon's budget. That'll buy you a shit ton of horses.
Yep.
And it's just really sad because, remember, these are just average Midwestern, average Americans like you and I. We all pay our taxes. You can't get around it. You can't get around property tax. And so she's the one controlling everything, and nobody is questioning her. And she has all of these different streams of income. Here's the thing. I go through my credit card bill, and I make sure that there's nothing weird or suspicious that I don't notice. But if you think of looking through all of these numbers from a city, papers and numbers and stacks and all of these inputs and outputs.
And
no one's
outputs.
outputs. Listen, I'm from the Midwest. Nobody is paying attention to all of those little numbers because who does she answer to?
Yeah.
Herself.
Government finance is complicated. You got your infrastructure and your motor fuel tax, and the Illinois funds and how they go into this account. Who's the one teaching the department heads?
So what the actual budget and revenue was different than what she was telling the department heads. They didn't have access to all of the correct information. They are taking her word for it. And what's so crazy is that, you have people come in, they start new jobs, they're like, oh, that's Rita. Rita knows everything. You're immediately not going to ask questions. You're going to accept and trust that Rita is doing what she's supposed to be doing. So these folks had no access to the original records. Only Rita did, and she doctored them. So basically, city manager Danny comes in to say, Rita's a sociopath. She didn't feel guilt. She didn't feel bad. And because of her actions, the city suffered greatly.
And listen, I've been a property owner for a long time. No one likes paying taxes, but they go to things to run your city. It goes to my daughter's high school. It goes to plow the snow. It goes to garbage. It is allotted for all of these things. But the citizens were the ones suffering because the workers are driving around in broken down trucks with holes in the floor, Problems weren't getting solved. Roads were going to shit because they didn't have the money. And finally, Danny's really breaking this down. We all complain about taxes, but they're there for a certain, reason. And Lacey's like, oh, I kind of thought this was going to be funny. This is sad.
Yeah, workers didn't have what they needed. The town projects were not getting completed. Meanwhile, Rita's living like a queen in her palace. And so that financial crisis of 2008 that hit all of us very hard, people were starting to bounce back. Cities were finding their way. Dixon could not get on its feet. The people were having a hard time. No one could understand why. Programs shut down. Local pools shut down. There were no raises. Meanwhile, surrounding communities, they were starting to come alive. Those people were getting their raises. And so folks were asking a lot of questions.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Who do I talk? Do I talk to you about a raise?
Do you want a raise?
I'd like a raise.
Okay. Hold on one second. Let me call. I'm calling HR. 1 second.
You're calling HR?
Yeah.
Who's?
Hello.
Hi, Harris. It's Joey. You're on the radio.
Oh boy, what's up?
Ellen just mentioned that she wanted a raise, and I told her that we have to speak to HR, which is you. So I was just wondering what your thoughts were on giving her a raise.
It's like an immediate. She wants it immediately.
I don't know, Ellen. Do you want it immediately?
Yes, I'd like you to Venmo me $20.
Yeah, she said that her raise, she would like it to be Venmo'd in the form of $20.
I mean, she's been taking a lot of downtime, so I'm just not sure.
Yeah, I don't know if she deserves that $20.
I mean, she's watched so many episodes of Traitors, so I'm thinking no.
Yeah. Hey, Ellen, can you just take a little break real fast? I just have to have a quick business meeting.
Yeah. I'll mute myself. Yeah.
Hey, Harris.
Yeah.
I just want to say this affair that we've been having has been really nice, and I thank you for helping me to turn this new bisexual leaf over. It's really been such an awakening, and I have you to thank for it.
You're welcome, and I'm so glad you said you weren't going to tell anybody. So let's just keep it between us. Ellen would, really freak out that you went that way with me and not her. So let's just keep it quiet,
Yeah, me too. And I love that you're on board with my idea of me being bisexual as nothing like sexual, just us watching Funny Girl on repeat.
Anything you need. I'm here to make you comfortable.
Such a good girl. All right, I love you, Harris. Harris, please don't ever leave us. I love you.
Love you too.
Bye.
Were you guys talking about my birthday present?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Can't wait for my $20.
So taxes are going up, but nothing is changing. Nothing is getting done.
And Danny, the manager, explains.
Our elected officials, they were good people. Her theft destroyed what they felt their reputation was. The feeling of betrayal sat right in the core of so many people that were close to her.
If someone told me my taxes were going to some rhinestone bitch's horse farm, I would flip so many fucking tables. Everybody is out here struggling. These are just average Americans. And Rita is out in these streets taking people out for filet mignons and bringing her dogs home filet mignons, not the bones. She'd be like, oh, I need to order another dinner for Muffy over there. And these people are just trying to fucking survive. Like, she's a selfish fucking horse hoarder.
I just want to drive home seriously what you just said. Ellen is not being facetious when she says that.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, Rita was taking people to steak dinners, and she would order extra steaks to bring home to her dogs to eat.
And these people, they're getting their libraries and pools shut down. That is some piece of shittery.
Yeah, so that's the caliber of person we're dealing with here, right? And so again, this is stretched out over 20 years. How did she finally get caught? It took one person to be like, something stinks. It smells like bullshit, and I think I know where the source of the stank is. Enter Kathy Swanson.
Well, Kathy has Lacey over for some tea, and they're talking about all the odds and ends. So Lacey was like, well, you know Rita. And in true Midwestern fashion, Kathy goes, The Southerners say, "Oh, bless her heart,"
Yep.
and a New Yorker will be like, "This fucking guy," and Kathy just gives us a very loaded,
Yep.
Well, Kathy was the deputy treasurer starting in 1991, which is the same as a treasurer, but I think you have a badge or something. I don't know. I didn't look it up. But she worked under Rita. And Lacey asks what that was like. And Kathy's like, well, she had a lot of swagger.
Uh-huh.
You know, she would sashay into the office.
Uh-huh. And she wasn't flashy at work, but outside of work, she was very flashy. And then Kathy's like,
She would come back from the horse shows and bring all of us girls something.
Like what?
Oh my God. These ugly sandals. I wear a size 6.5. She got me a 10.
she's like, no, you shouldn't have. You shouldn't have.
She was so mad at Rita. Kathy was just, her flabbers were gasted. She's like, I wore a 6.5 and that bitch brought me a 10 of those ugly ass horse sandals.
Isn't it so funny what somebody who is like, I could just imagine Rita being so like arrogant and like, I'm just better. Let me give you a little gift to the low people where it's like, you're not even really rich. You're a thief. And you're a thief with bad taste. So anyway, Kathy was like, look, despite all of that, I loved my job. You know, I worked next to Rita for a long time. Everyone was like a little family. We started out with something like 120 employees, but as people retired, they wouldn't replace them. So fewer and fewer folks were down there. And Kathy was like, I had no help.
That happens.
Yeah.
When cuts are made, the responsibilities fall on other people, and their salaries aren't getting doubled for doing two people's work. When I was in Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, if a swing would go out of town, we wouldn't get a vacation swing. In the Broadway world, you get a vacation swing. You basically have someone come in for coverage. And our producers were so cheap, they were like, do a cut show. They didn't care. And then that goes on to us and the dance captain and the stage manager to reconfigure the show. So they're saving on someone's salary who's out on a sanctioned vacation. And they're like, we're just going to save the money. That's basically what the city of Dixon did. They did not hire vacation swings.
Well, also, that's what Rita did. Because Rita was in control of the budget. And so Kathy was like, my first grandchild was being born. And I went to Rita and I asked for some help to lighten up my workload because I wanted to spend time with my daughter and my new grandbaby. And Rita was like, of course, I've got you. Don't worry. She didn't hire anyone.
No, of course not. And then Kathy noted
She'd stand there and go through every envelope and say, pay this, don't pay this. The police chief went to her and said, we need a new radio system. And she told him, I'm sorry, we don't have the money.
And that means that dispatchers weren't always getting the calls and folks could die.
That's a public safety risk.
Yep.
It really is. And so she was constantly putting cuts in every budget. She was cutting everything. She wasn't paying bills. She was cutting salaries. Well, rather, cutting jobs, which then cut salaries. And honey, Kathy is a down bitch. She went to DBU and she majored in receipts.
Yeah. Show me the receipts. You know, that's like one of my favorite Maya Rudolph.
I don't know what it is. What is it?
You've never seen Maya Rudolph on Kimmy Schmidt doing
Dionne Warwick?
Dionne Warwick. She does Dionne Warwick. You have to see this now.
He thought he was going to ask me a Whitney Houston question and stump me.
No, I didn't. I was stumped. I couldn't remember.
Who's the greatest singer of all time?
Aretha Franklin.
You said Mariah Carey last
No,
time.
I
asked you that
said who was
question.
my diva. Mariah is my diva, but the greatest singer of all time is Aretha Franklin.
Okay, that's incorrect. Go on.
And then Whitney is a close second. I think
Go on with the bore, Phil.
Aretha walked so Whitney could run that
They
long.
did not sing anything remotely in the same sphere. Aretha Franklin was a soul singer. Okay, go on. We can have this fight another day.
Some people say global warming is a hoax perpetrated by the Chinese. But I say, show me the receipts. Because why would Xi Jinping want to flood my basement and rust my Bowflex? To what end? To what end?
Well, listen, honey, Kathy had the receipts, and she's going to show it to Lacey.
Kathy says that they worked with two banks, one of which Kathy had online access to, so she could check statements, whatever records she needed, she could get to. This other bank account, Rita never allowed her access. Except one day Rita was away on one of her horse shows, and Kathy was like, enough! I have a city council meeting. It's a hard deadline. I'm sick of this shit. I can't wait on her. She called that bank that she did not have online access to and said, I don't give a fiddler's fuck about passcodes, PIN codes, whatever. You fax me every statement from this past year that you have for every single bank account. And you do it in 5 minutes. And the bank, I don't know how she did it. I don't know if she had a cousin who worked there. I don't know. In 5 minutes, she had all of those statements.
And honey, she combed through those statements like a cheated on spouse looking through text messages in WhatsApp, okay?
Uh-huh.
And she sees these big deposits. $225,000, $210,000, $350,000, and then all of these withdrawals and other debts to the account. And she's thinking to herself, this isn't our account. And she looks at the top of the page. She's like, well, it says City of Dixon. Well, this is very confusing. Something is shady. So Kathy is the first one to take a bite out of this crime. Do you remember that?
Take a bite out of crime.
Do you remember?
Yes.
What was his name?
It was the dog.
What was his name?
Mark.
Gather round the campfire, children. Let me tell you the story of McGruff, the crime dog.
I'm McGruff, the crime dog.
Oh, children, he was an animated bloodhound dressed as Sherlock Holmes. And he would come to our television and he would raise awareness for crime and personal safety. This pooch was encouraging people to join a neighborhood watch and not litter our parks. Oh, children, it was a PSA, a public service announcement to remind us to be kind and courteous. Oh, what a time we would listen to animated cartoons giving us life hacks.
See that playground? A lot of kids there. Every day in this country, 60 kids disappear.
Oh, yes, children, we listened to everything McGruff said. He was only second to Who's the Boss's Danny Pentaro, reminding us not to do crack.
So if you're thinking about using crack, don't do it. And if you use crack right now, do yourself a favor and get help now.
Oh, what a time, children, when animated cartoons reminded us that crack is whack. What a time.
And next week, children, we'll talk about Saved by the Bell and how they did drug awareness commercials. We'll play it for you.
There's no hope with dope.
Yeah, I forgot about him. There was a lot of cartoons that gave us life lessons. Smokey the Bear.
Smokey the Bear? Yeah. I don't know. Dare, which just scared the shit out of us. This is your drug. This is your brain. This is your brain on drugs.
This is your drug. Yep.
It didn't work. I do a lot of weed.
Here's the thing. When Kathy called that bank and said, send me those motherfucking statements in 5 minutes, what the bank unknowingly did was send not only all of the legitimate bank statements for the legitimate bank accounts, but they also sent over the statements for Rita's secret bank account. So basically, Kathy's like, I'm not sure what all of this is, but whatever it is, it ain't good.
The mayor started to talk to me how bad we were, in dire straits. And I said, Jim, I have something to tell you. I said, I've never seen this bank account before. He immediately called the FBI.
And the FBI took it. And remember, FBI doesn't usually take on cases that they don't think is rock solid. They're like, no, this is all here in black and white coming through on Kathy's fax machine from 1992. But here was what ended up happening. Everyone left in the office, including down bitch Kathy, had to carry on business as usual. Everything needed to be just totally commonplace while they gathered more information. And Kathy was basically a DB FBI agent because she was getting them all the information from the inside. She would go into work early. She would access records. She would copy shit, all while she's sitting playing nice with Rita and her ugly-ass horse sandals.
Honey, she said I should have won an Academy Award for the act I put on. And honestly, I also barely made it through. I drank a lot. It was very hard, which actually makes me think there's a world where only Kathy and the mayor knew. Because maybe like all that pressure and having to carry on.
Absolutely.
Because they couldn't risk other people in the office talking about it, and because, in a small town, all it takes is you tell one person, they tell one person, and then all of a sudden Rita knows and she's skipping town and she's in Duluth.
It's a sting. Kathy is like a Midwestern meemaw in the middle of an FBI sting operation.
Yeah, and she's so sweet. I really want to hug her because she was just like fun. She seems like a fun person.
She was really sweet. And she honestly, it took such a toll on her mental health. She went to the mayor's office one day and she's like, Jim, can I call you Jim? Jimmy, I can't do this anymore. And poor sweet Jim, who really was so concerned about the citizens of Dixon, was like, it's happening today. She's going to get arrested.
It's crazy because Kathy was like,
I closed my eyes to listen to the click of the handcuffs. I thought that would do it for me, but it really didn't. I couldn't come to work the next morning. I was crying because all I could think of was, did she have a blanket?
I can tell that Kathy is an empath and she's just can probably see the good in anyone. But my ass, even though you and I are both very empathetic, but I'm thinking about all the suffering that these people went through while she was ordering filet mignon for her dogs.
Exactly. You have to remember, these women worked together in this office for 20 years.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if you particularly don't like your coworkers, you still see them day in and day out. Sometimes you see your coworkers more than you see your own family. You get to know people's life, the ins and outs. And it was a very big part of her life. Even if she was bringing her home stupid horse gifts that she didn't give a shit about, imagine seeing everyone every working hour for 20 years. Of course, that would be very internally confusing because Kathy knows she did the right thing. But still, it's very conflicting.
Absolutely. So now the news of Rita's thievery hits the city of Dixon, and all of them collectively turn into Octavia, Spencer, and the Help because they're all
eat my shit.
Yeah, and the mayor is like, well, we have to call a meeting. We have to address this. Like I said before, yes, Rita was the one who stole. Rita was at the helm, and she acted alone. But why on earth anyone in positions of power would allow her to have that kind of control over the money that goes in and out? Someone higher up should have been like, she can't do both of these jobs. It's a conflict of interest. So they were mad. I would be mad too. I'd be like, yeah, fuck Rita, but fuck you too, Jim, and fuck somebody else.
Yeah. Who did Jim fuck? Kathy? Are we making a side story?
I would be like, fuck you, city council. Somebody should have flagged this.
It's true. And she stole from her friends.
Yep.
Her fellow citizens, people who championed her at her horse fucking races. Also, who needs 400 horses? The greed. 400 horses? Can you quantify how many horses that is?
I think it was an addiction. We've seen this a million times with crimes, and we've all done it in our own lives, right? Where we do something and we get away with it for a little bit, and then we get more comfortable, and then you keep going until later on you're like, oh, I stole $52 million and I own 400 horses.
Do you remember that coupon woman, Robin Ramirez, who made so much money, and she was buying like cars and planes and she didn't use it. She bought helicopters and they just sat places. Like, what are you trying to get money for?
Yeah.
And she just needed more and more. Yeah, you're right. It's like a greed addiction. You couldn't possibly even remember the names of 400 horses.
Yeah, and meanwhile, there's people who can't even get through to the dispatcher because the radios don't work in your town.
Exactly.
So, honey, the FBI did not come to play.
Rita acted entirely alone, and with overwhelming evidence against her, she pled guilty.
Today, a judge sentenced her to 19 years and 7 months behind bars.
Not in the episode. The max for this crime in the state of Illinois is 20 years, and the defense was asking for 13 years. I just think that's the shadiest thing. The judge's like, I'll give you 19 years, 7 months.
I'll shave off 5 months for you.
Yeah, there you go. Merry Christmas, okay? You're an old friend. We went to high school together. Here's 5 months out of the slammer. Sweet Kathy is here, and she went to the sentencing because she thought to herself, surely this woman is going to see the error of her ways.
Yeah.
She's going to apologize to us. She's going to apologize to the citizens of Dixon. She did not.
Nope.
She apologized to her friends and her family. And Kathy was like, wow, that's a fucking gun punch, you tacky ass.
Yeah, I mean, the city of Dixon bore the brunt of your selfishness. The least you could do is acknowledge the pain that you inflicted on them. And then Lacey says, you know, Kathy, you're kind of a hero. And Kathy's like, I'm not a hero. I did my job. But you know what makes me feel good is when all of this was over, my daughters, I always told them growing up how proud I was of them. And they said to us, thank you for always being proud of us, but we want you to know that in this moment, we are proud of you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that must have been some sort of consolation after 6 months. I mean, 6 months is a long time to pretend.
Yeah.
So off to jail Rita goes, and that's the end of it, right, Ellen?
Oh, you would think.
Yep.
We got a little tag. So you would think she would sit and take her lumps. She earned it. You're a fucking con artist. I just want to say this. What is the Moorishness of this? This is just the stupidest crime. Just the greed of it all. Anyway, she decided to write like a 53-page research paper to the judge and beg for early release. And Danny's like, nah.
Yeah.
Danny takes Lacey down to this statue of Ronald Reagan. You all should see this statue. This man looks very handsome. I never saw Ronald Reagan look like this. This statue of Ronald Reagan does CrossFit.
Yeah.
He's like, just, what's up? Just see my gains, bro? Yeah.
Yeah, no, they definitely gave him a six-pack. This Ronald Reagan has been doing a marathon. But, you know, fuck you, Ronald Reagan. If I ever see you in the afterlife, I will slap you across the face.
To recoup as much as possible from the $53.7 million embezzled, Dixon auctioned off all of Rita Crundwell's assets, including all 5 of her kitchen sinks.
They weren't leaving anything untouched. They took her ugly-ass furniture.
Yep.
They took her ugly-ass clothes. They took her ugly-ass cowboy hats. They took her beautiful horses, which, poor horses.
Yeah.
They're just like collateral damage in this big scheme. Horses are very beautiful, emotional creatures. I feel so bad for all of them.
I know. I mean, but here's the thing. One person's trash is another man's treasure, because folks from all over America was like, did somebody say tacky custom-made revolver chandeliers? I'll take 2. I mean, really. So
someone got her diary.
Someone
was like, I got her diary, honey. If someone auctioned off my diary, I would request to go to Guantanamo Bay. I'd be like, lock me up. How much is my sentence? 19 years, double it, add a 0. I ain't never coming out.
Also, y'all, they auctioned off horse nut. Not chestnuts, not walnuts, but horse nut.
Horse nut, semen.
Yes.
It's the thoroughbred.
I don't care. That is
know.
disgusting. Can you
I don't
imagine?
know
Here
if
you go. It's in a Ziploc bag. Have fun.
What'd you get? Horse splooge.
We poured it in a I Love Dixon mug. Have fun.
They auctioned off her properties, but you know what? It worked.
Wait, can I just say something?
Yeah, babe.
She had 5 properties.
Yeah.
Not just the one in Florida, not just the one. She had 5. This person is a horrible human being.
Why do you need that much stuff?
You
Stuff
don't.
is not going to make you happy. It's so weird to me.
It is weird, but it's an addiction. That's why I'm saying it wasn't about the stuff. It was an addiction. And so they're able to get back $52 million, basically everything that Rita took. So that's got to be the end of the story, right, Ellen?
You'd think.
Nope.
The next step was suing the town's auditors, who were supposed to be watching over this and missed Rita's scheme for over 20 years.
Good for fucking you. They need to accept some responsibility. And so it was between the lawsuit settlement and the auction that the city was able to regain that money. Was that the end of the story, Joey?
No, it's not, because y'all buckle up. If you have a subscription, take your Xanax now, have a cocktail, don't combine both. But I'm just telling you now, buckle up.
Reports suggest that former Dixon comptroller Rita Crundwell has been released early from the Federal Corrections Institution in downstate Beacon.
Sources indicate that the CARES Act played a role.
So she got an early release, and she was sent home with home confinement after 8 years, and everyone was pissed. Everyone. Also, a news reporter tried to interview her brother in a truck, and I guess asshole runs in the family.
What are you bothering me for? Get your camera off my face, you.
Is Rita staying with you? Or?
Rita who?
Well, at least he didn't curse.
Do me a favor and kiss my head.
Oh. Okay.
These are not nice people. But you know what? Dixon is now thriving. They've bounced back, and now they have things in place to make sure that this never happens again.
Well, thank God. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're looking towards the future. They've changed a lot of the infrastructure inside. They've made a lot of renovations. And, Danny, the manager, who's actually a really great guy. I know I was making fun of him for being the manager. It's just a funny title. But he says what we wish all people in government would say is that how can we ask people to trust us if they are duped? We need transparency in government. You can tell this man and the other people that we met on this show actually care about the citizens. They care about what they do.
Yeah.
And they close, sadly, with Ronald Reagan's words.
Trust but verify.
Which, honestly, Joey, I know you don't like Ronald Reagan, but you have lived by that because I know for a fact you always make your grinder dates verify their picture before you go and slob their knob.
Honey, this is not my first time at the hodeo, okay? I know what's up. Oh, also, at the very end of this episode, they give us a little piece of information that in 2024, President Biden commuted Rita's sentence.
Yeah, it's very strange because the CARES Act was signed in March of 2020 by Donald Trump, and that was to keep vulnerable people who were not violent offenders out of prison, and they were basically on house arrest. They were on homestay. I would have thought when that went bye-bye that they would have sent her back to prison. Biden probably thought he was like signing an autograph. He was like, there it is. Poor Biden.
Who am I?
Poor guy. Say something funny.
So you know how on Tinder, they have a feature where someone can click play and they can hear you just say a little blurb about yourself?
I didn't know that. Carry on.
They do. I now know what my new blurb is going to be. You want to hear it?
What?
We love dicks.
What do you think?
That's a callback! Thank you, dumb bitches! Scam Goddess, I like it. We got you for 4 episodes, Lacey. Can't wait. Thank you so much for being here, dumb bitches. Don't forget, if you're not following us on Instagram, that is where we post all of our backstage silliness, and we post all kinds of information like watch parties and paint parties and all the things that we're doing in our ITN community.
And you can find us there at I Think Not Pod. Also, if you have not joined our Facebook group, it's a great place. It's another way that you can keep up with all of our updates, and that is called the I Think Not Podcast Facebook discussion group. If you have not joined our YouTube channel, what are you doing? Please go over there.
What are you doing? Parker is over there doing the Lord's work, making all kinds of funny music videos and everything. So please head on over there, subscribe, drop us a comment. We love to read your love. You are the absolute best. And if you are feeling frisky, please head over to iTunes or Spotify or Amazon or wherever you listen to us. Leave us a 5-star review and please write a couple sentences about why you like the podcast. And if you don't, I urge you to head over to Gen Y because I think their reviews have been really good and they need to be taken down a peg. Okay? I'm kidding. We love you guys. We love you, Aaron and Justin. Until next time, I love you, Joey.
I love you too, Hillary Marshall. I love you, Davey.
We love you, dumb bitches. Bye.